NSFW, what human experiment would you want to see happen if ethics was of no concern? Brain transplants. 2 years ago there was a scheduled head transplant in Russia that ended up being cancelled. They were going to screen it, and I was very intrigued to find out the results of it, just for the curiosity of scientific progress. Yeah, I was just searching about that. The surgeon is Sergio Canavero, and I was trying to find more info, but couldn't find what eventually happened. I remember he even had a volunteer head ready and all. Do you have some resources about what made it cancel? I want to Truman Show someone. Not an experiment, but if millions actually raided Area 51, how many people would be shot before the government says duck it, let them see the aliens? They'd secretly move any highly sensitive information to another facility that nobody knows about. It's likely already done, and Area 51 is a cover-up to distract people from actual secret facilities. How far can we replace the entirety of the human body with the exception of the brain with mechanical components, synthetic organs, servo limbs, circuitry-based nervous system all connecting to the brain? How far can we go? How close can we get to almost pure cyberization? Could we replace the half of the brain behind memory and logic with an entirely computerized part so that the individual can think faster and better? What would happen if that half of the brain had a true artificial intelligence linked with the human conscience? Would they coexist? Would the AI understand human concepts better? Would the human even be able to survive the process? Do they still have their soul? Would sensors to essentially replace our senses and replicate them in our brain, keep us from feeling less human? Basically, how long till I can become a tech priest, damn it? I'm curious about what would happen if they redid the Stanford prison experiment, but with real laboratory conditions instead of some bullshittery. Conditioning children. Start in the infancy and put them in various types of parenting. From a scale of strictest to most lenient. All the factors are the same, just different parents. I really want to know the effects of parenthood to children. And since we're already casting aside ethics, all the infants should be exact clones of each other to finally solve the nature versus nurture dilemma. I'm pretty sure there was something like this where a guy got triplets or twins and put them with different types of parents. I want to see how many waves of 5-year-olds I can fight. Gym a crowbar and I think I could reach 75 before I get tired or they defeat me. Death experiments. Effects of extended sleep deprivation, already known to be fatal. However, extended timeline of symptoms is unknown. Total sensory deprivation. Remove all senses and have subject report experiences. Insanity is sure to follow. Lifetime caloric restriction diet effects in humans. Estimates of effects are 4 times remaining lifespan. If implemented from birth and maturity, what is maximum lifespan? I can't help remember that one creepypasta with the Russian experiment. It was all a bad dream. Right? Exclamation mark. I would find it very interesting to see what the human sleeping rhythm would get to if a human is not exposed to the day and night cycle, including time, in any way for some time. Mock trials where the jury doesn't know they are a part of it. New rules though, if they push for the death penalty they must have a hand in the matter. On the day of the execution they all are in separate rooms and each with their own button, with the inmate hooked up to a lethal injection device. They have 1 minute to push a button, and it must be unanimous. If not, the person is acquitted. Would people do it? Would they have the conviction if they had to be held to their word? I think people like to say things, but don't follow through. Of course at the end we reveal it was an experiment. What bias would we see and what not? Take someone with severe schizophrenic delusions and mold their surroundings according to their delusions. E.g., they think they are Jesus. Get a bunch of people to act like they believe it and start following them. If they think the government is after them, have some men in black capture them. What would happen with their delusions? This reminds me of an experiment that was done with 3 delusional people who all believed that they were Jesus. The 3 were put in a room together to see how they'd react to others with the same delusion. All 3 of them were quite nice to each other, but concluded that the other 2 were delusional. Cloning and harvesting the body parts of your own clones. There's a movie/book about that. Never let me go. Can humans die from continuous orgasms? If so, what's the maximum number of orgasms? I think I read once in high school that a Brazilian teenager was found dead because he jacked off too many times in one day. I think it was estimated that he came 24 times. Keeping people alive no matter what. How far can the human body go before it dies? A lot of stuff with how brains work. Pregnancy in zero gravity. To see how we would fare as a space exploring species in the future. Locking people in dark rooms for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and a decade. I'd like to see what happens to their vision and mental health. I work at a cave, and when I was in college I asked a professor for a class on sensation and perception about what the darkness can do to us over long periods of time. He told me after about a week your brain would start to adjust and it would likely set off other sensations to go off unnecessarily. Like your brain will hallucinate senses outside of sight. After a month your brain still adapting would start to think the occipital lobe in your brain, which covers your vision, will begin to shrivel to give energy elsewhere in the brain where it's needed. Eventually you would lose the ability to see. That all sounds bad for mental health. So I hope that helps both parts of your question. How long someone who is morbidly obese, 600 plus lbs, could survive with just intaking multivitamins. Gene splicing. Create some ducked up monster thing in order to find greater cures for diseases and shit. Something like splice but without that shitty last like 20 minutes. Edit. Holy hell. I wrote this before bed thinking it'd be a throwaway response. Thanks for blowing it up, and my first ever awards. Also, for everyone mentioning CRISPR, I don't mean altering genes. I mean creating new organisms entirely. So basically try to create a human/chimp hybrid super soldier like the Soviets did? Check out Ilya Ivanov, the Soviet scientist who tried this. The more I look in this thread, the more I find people having experiment ideas which were all already attempted and are themselves the reason why ethical laws are in place. Can a human die of physical pain alone? If a person was tortured with little to no physical harm to the body, let's say artificial stimulation of pain receptors or something like the Cruciatus Curse for Harry Potter fans, how long would they last until they just died? I've always said it would be interesting to raise a child in a colorless home for the first 15 years or so of their lives. Make them live in a home where everything is white, all the furniture and whatnot. Only allow them to eat food that they can dye white or grey or something. The only color they can see is their own skin. I'd even go to the point of dyeing their hair white too. Have some caretakers help raise them, but those caretakers also must wear a wig or dye their hair white and wear grey contacts. The kid can watch TV and do whatever else inside the home, but no color at all. Then take the kid outside and expose them to a forest and then a city and just see how they react to all these new colors. Human breeding programs for different traits would be cool. Take quite a while to do the experiment, of course. But can we create a subrace of 8 feet tall people, or humans who can sprint 30 miles per hour? How about someone with the human analogous temperament of a golden retriever? That island where the missionary died a couple years ago, Sentinel Island. I would capture a native and bring them back to a facility. We'd care for them, earn their trust, and learn their mythology and culture. I want to know their mythology. They literally get fire from heaven. I want to know what they think it is. I want to know their view of the world. I want to know everything. Agreed honestly. I think the main issue with us contacting them would be our germs tbh. I believe they have met outsiders before, but after 3 died/were kidnapped they don't trust us much. Although I know they like coconuts as I have seen photos and videos of people bringing it to them. They don't meet on land though, only in the shallow water surrounding it. Also a ship got stranded there, and I believe you can see it on Google Maps. Human hybridization. It's been proven that chimpanzee semen can fertilize human eggs. What would the resulting hybrid be like? Can other apes successfully hybridize with humans? Raise a child without the knowledge of the color blue. Teach them every other color as normal. but just never mention blue as a color. Then when they are older, see if they can still perceive blue to be a separate color from the others. If their brain hasn't been trained to recognize blue, repeat for other colors. Olympics where performance enhancers are allowed. I wonder what the human body could do. Get 3 islands all with easy access to fresh water, forest and arable land, and that's it. No communication from the outside world except for a small library of books. Populate one with billionaires, one with a random sampling of Americans, and one with Americans living below the poverty line. See what kind of societies will arise. I may sound like Hitler, but I just want to tell you all right now, I'd never ever condone something as despicable as this. That said, I've always wondered how different personalities would react to torture and imprisonment. How long would it take for each one to break down? Are there certain personalities that are better at handling the torture and imprisonment? Questions like that. Split up the county and do a controlled study of a bunch of economic policies so nobody can keep claiming their crap works if it doesn't. Actually compare growth and economic mobility, not to mention the tax dollars. Edit. Some of y'all think I want to compare capitalism and communism or some shit. No. I want a graph of social security benefits vs dead grandmas. I want all of Maine on a universal basic income and all of Nevada without any social programs. I wanna eat the rich, but only in Florida. I want to subsidize grain in Iowa and vegetables in Nebraska. Also kudos on the snarkiest wholesome award I have ever received. Teach children exclusively whatever they were interested in learning. As a psychology major, I have so many answers to this question bouncing around in my head, but the one that popped into my head first was inflicting pain/torture on a parent's child that they had disowned. I wrote a paper on something similar to this in college. I'm the child of a parent who disowned/abandoned me when I was a teenager. At this point there is no emotional bond between us, and all feelings of love are far gone. This subject sparked a ton of interest in me when one of my professors asked us why parents feel the instinct to die for their children if needed, or ask abusers/killers to take them instead of their child. I asked her if I could write a paper on the opposite. Would a parent want to die for their child if there is no emotional bond or feelings of love? Would their child be just another person that they could care less about? I would really love to see how an experiment plays out revolving around this. Would a parent sacrifice themselves or endure pain if needed for a disowned child? How many bones can you break before you just die? Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.